Are you happy at work? Happy employees are more productive. This means happy employees bring more profit. Learn how to build a happy company at the Happiness at Work conference, the world's #1 conference on corporate well-being. Meet the world's leading experts on the subject. Join us at the Happiness at Work conference in Antwerp on 28th June through our worldwide streaming. Go to www.happiness-conference.world.
Good morning. We are live. Thank you for joining us. Live from Belgium. We are at Jim's place. It's a good place to be here. And I'm here with Lieven Annemans on the sofa for a new webinar about happiness at work. Lieven, welcome.
Thank you.
I looked so much forward to meeting you. I've been following you on LinkedIn for now a couple of months, and it's really so joyful to meet you in person and have this conversation about happiness at work.
Thank you.
So, Lieven, you are professor economics, health and well-being. What does it mean?
Well, I started, in fact, more than 20 years ago as a health economist. And what is a health economist? He is interested in health, of course, because health is very important. So we want to optimize the health of the population, but we don't have all the money of the world to invest in health. So a health economist tries to advise about how should we invest our money in order to maximize the health of the population, which programs are preferred, which health promotion programs are preferred, which changes can be made in the healthcare sector in order to improve the health of the population, etc. So that's basically what I've been doing for more than 20 years. But then since 5 years, I got more interested in happiness, in well-being. And in fact, it's the same story. We want to improve happiness in society, but we don't have all the resources of the world to improve or to invest in improving happiness. So again, we have to make choices. What can we do to improve the happiness of the population? That's basically what I'm doing also since 5 years.
We are on a shared mission.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
We are on a shared mission. And all the people who are watching, please join our conversation. If you have questions, let us know. Lieven is here to answer your questions. I think the last 15 minutes of this webinar. So keep sending us your questions, and our team will address it to you. So again, to your job, I think it's more a mission. When did you decide to do this, and what made you decide it?
Yeah, well, I was already doing health economics, but I had a consultancy company. So I did consultancy in health economics. I did cost-benefit analysis for those who wanted to cost-benefit analysis of their, for instance, a medicine or a medical device, etc. And I liked to do that, but I felt I have to make more impact. If you want to change something, if you want to improve the health of the population, then it's not enough to have a consultancy company and doing some nice projects. I wanted to do more. And so I had completed a PhD in health economics, and then I saw there was a position at the university for professor, and I did not hesitate. So I went for that position. I got that position, and so since 20 years I'm a professor. And as a professor, my feeling is that you can have indeed more impact. You can do the research projects that you want to initiate yourself. So you have more flexibility, more choice, more autonomy also, and that gives you more opportunities to have impact.
Yeah, beautiful. So I found you on LinkedIn in the time that you were involved with this, a couple of series called Tegenwind in Dutch.
Headwinds. Yeah.
Headwinds.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about this series.
Yes, well, during the pandemic, I was trying to convince others that there was more than the virus. It's a dangerous virus. We agree, and we needed to take measures, of course, to try to save lives and to also make sure that the healthcare sector could be dealing with the epidemic. But I try to say, well, there is of course also more. If you lock down the entire society, you will have problems like increasing poverty, increasing mental problems, increasing violence, other diseases that are less optimal treated, etc. So I wanted to strive for a more balanced approach, still protecting people as good as possible against getting sick from that virus, but at the same time also protecting society for not having these negative consequences of poverty and violence, etc. And apparently not everybody agreed with that. So some people were really so much obsessed by the virus that they did not even look at all the other aspects. And as a health economist, you make constantly balances between the costs of something and the benefits of something. So if you take certain measures to deal with the virus, those measures will have benefits, but they will also have costs. And I was trying to look always at that balance, and not everybody was doing that. And so I got some headwind, and that's why I was invited also to participate in that program, because there were the other participants in that program were also people who tried to speak out and to say, well, let's have a more nuanced approach of this pandemic, and all got some headwinds, and that's why we participated in that program.
So, but wonderful that you did, because it wasn't, for me personally, it was a clear voice. It was another voice, and a more hopeful voice. So I really loved the series. How did you see what was the impact of the virus when it comes to society, and also when it comes to organizations?
Well, how much time do we have?
Exactly.
When I in 2020, in May 2020, I was appointed by the Flemish government. In Belgium, there are regions within the country, and the Flemish region, the minister-president of the Flemish region asked me to share a committee for societal revival. So already then, they thought about, okay, we have to look at the consequences of this crisis, and we have to try to come up with measures to restore our society again. And it's at that time that we were supported by a consultancy company who collected data where we saw that there was huge impact on social relations. People use the word social distancing. I don't like that word. So it's like, no, maybe physical distancing was needed, but not social distancing. On the contrary, we needed to connect even more. And we saw then data about poverty, about increasing stress levels, anxiety levels, depression, etc. And in our own research, we saw that especially by the end of 2020, there was a huge impact on the happiness level in the society, but also the happiness level at work. So there was the epidemic, and the way it was approached had clearly negative consequences on happiness overall, and also happiness at work. And then so we said we have to do something about that. And so more than ever, we tried to come up with measures, with advice how to improve happiness overall, and also happiness at work.
Can you share some of the points of advice that you have, especially for organizations?
Yes, for organizations. Where should I start? Well, first of all, when we look at happiness at work, we have shown also in our research that it's always about that balance between job demands on the one hand and what we call the job resources. Job demands are clear. You have your tasks to do, and in some organizations there is a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and we see that the job demands, if they are over the top, that of course negatively influences happiness at work. That's clear. But we found that 80% of happiness at work is driven by the job resources. So the job demands are important, but 80% is driven by the job resources. And what are these? First of all, and number one in the ranking, the role of the manager. If the manager is somebody who doesn't trust his co-workers, if the manager is not consistent, if the manager does not listen to his co-workers, the impact on job happiness is really quite dramatic.
Yeah.
So we noticed that, just to give an example, the simple question, does your manager find your opinion important? Those who answer yes, they score on average 8 on 10 on work happiness. And those who say no, my manager is not interested in my opinion, they only score 3.5.
Wow.
So that's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Almost the same difference, but when you ask the question, is your manager consistent in what he or she is saying and doing? So you have some managers who say one day A and the next day B. That is inconsistency. Those who have consistent managers, again, they score many points higher on work happiness than those who do not have consistent managers. Second is, and that's related to that, is to make sure that within the company, the famous basic psychological needs are satisfied. That means the need for autonomy, and that's of course that role of that manager comes back there to give people autonomy, not to tell them this is what you have to do, and you have to do it such and such. I tell you what to do, and you just do it. That's not autonomy. And if you give more autonomy, like this is our goal, how would you approach that? And or you can choose how to approach it, as long as we get the goal. That's giving autonomy. The second one is relatedness. We all have the need for relatedness. In good organizations, the relatedness between colleagues is stimulated, and colleagues are then stimulated to work together and to achieve common objectives, rather than to install some kind of competition between the co-workers. And the third is feeling competent in what you do. And also there, a manager can play an important role, because of course, in what you do on a daily basis, some feel more competent, others feel less competent. But the manager can also stimulate that feeling of competence by encouraging people. Wow, what you did there was really good. So managers only start making comments when it's not good. But as a manager, you have to also support people and tell them when it was good, and also allow them to follow courses to improve their skills, etc. So there are many things that can be done.
But how, like, I know those topics, if you do like a happiness research, you always see those three topics. But how do we do this when most of the managers feel stressed, overwhelmed, and the employers also? So, because when stress levels are increasing, well, autonomy is decreasing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So how can we play with this? How can we be conscious of the choices that we make?
Yes, I think we have to make a distinction between the factors that induce or can induce stress, and these are of course increasing when it's not going well with society, etc. But the second thing is then, how do you deal with that stress? So indeed, the stressors are increasing, so there are more stressful, let's say, events and inputs. But then it's the way how you deal with that stress, and that's very important for whatever level you work in an organization. It is to find the peace of mind in order to be able to deal with those factors that can cause stress. So we have to make that distinction. So there are increasing factors that cause stress, but it doesn't mean that we have to get more stressed. We have to train our brain in order to get that peace of mind. That's very important.
Now, talking about the brain, I saw this article of you where you spoke about physical physical well-being in society, which may be the same as physical
psychological well-being.
In organizations. And you talk about the brain and the different parts of the brain. So can you share a little bit more about that?
I try to focus, and I also covered that in my book about finding happiness without pursuit. And what I explain is as follows. I consider the brain is more complex than this, but I consider three key elements. First of all, there is the reptile brain, which is responsible for our instinct reactions like fight, flight, and freeze, and that's there to get prepared for danger. If there is danger coming from outside, then our instinct will tell us when to fight, when to flight, when to freeze. Everybody knows that. The limbic system, second part, that's the domain of emotions, but also the domain of conditioning. And what is the problem? Many people are negatively conditioned. So they almost continuously, on a daily basis, have negative thoughts, or they say negative things. Negative thoughts is about, it's going bad with the world, and everybody is bad, and it's always something happening. Or they say negative things to colleagues. It's always something with you, and you never do this what I asked you to do.
Always, never.
Exactly. The words always and never come very often in those negative thoughts and these negative things that people say. Or I hate waiting in the queue. The word hate is also coming back quite often. And what happens then? The reptile brain, our instinct, does not see any more danger from outside, but danger comes from inside. All these negative thoughts, all these negative things that you're saying, that's perceived as danger. And so the instinct reacts with fight, flight, and freeze. So, for instance, people get irritated for nothing. That's your instinct that makes you getting irritated for nothing. Some people even get aggressive for no reason. Flight behavior is like addiction, workaholic, shopaholic, driving too fast with the car. That's flight reactions. And freeze is, of course, losing your good mood and having no courage anymore, etc. And therefore, there is the third part that is here important, the prefrontal cortex. And that one needs to be trained in order to get more power to do something against that toxic combination of the reptile brain and the limbic system that cause the fight, flight, and freeze. And so the key is to train your prefrontal cortex. And how can you do that?
Yes. How do we train that muscle? Where is this?
It's here.
It's here. Okay. So this is not...
It's already important to know that you have a prefrontal cortex. Already knowing that can already cause some reflection.
We all have this.
Yeah, the prefrontal cortex is responsible for reflection, for empathy, for peace of mind. And so the fact that you know that you have it is already something. So if you have tomorrow a discussion with somebody and that other person gets irritated, then you can say, hey, what's going on with your prefrontal cortex? It's not working very well. So that's already step number one. Step number two is to train it. And you can do that with meditation. And there are different types of meditation. You can meditate with a mantra. You can meditate and concentrate on your respiration.
What is your favorite meditation?
With a mantra, yeah. And they told me that you should not share your mantra with other people. So
just between you and me.
Yeah, okay. So I have a mantra, and I don't do that twice a day, because some people recommend to do that twice a day, and for 20 minutes. Unfortunately, I don't have the time, but I do that a couple of times per week, and it really helps. But there is more. You can find mindfulness. You can listen to beautiful music, or make music yourself if you can do that. It can even, some people find it by working in the garden, but on a mindful way, of course, or walking in the forest, but again, not with your smartphone, but then really concentrating on what you see. These are all techniques that can help to train the prefrontal cortex. It's a little bit...
Sounds easy.
Yeah, indeed. But you need to start somewhere doing it, and sometimes I see people who say, yeah, but meditation, that's not for me. And then I say, well, fine, but then find another way. It's like training your physical fitness. Some people like to go jogging. Others prefer the bike. Others prefer swimming. And I think for training your prefrontal cortex, it's a little bit the same. You have to find what suits you better. And once you found that method, then you will see that it's going to increase, and you can deal better with all the stress factors around. Yeah.
Can we measure that? Like,
there are different ways of measuring. There are validated questionnaires that ask for to which extent do you have peace of mind. But of course, that's self-reported. But there are now more and more techniques with imaging. And that's purely for research, of course. Let's not start applying scans for everybody. But the researchers in that field, they use more and more sophisticated methods to indeed see what's going on in the brain of people who have a lot of peace of mind versus people who have very, very poor peace of mind. So you can measure it, but the preferred way of measuring it on a daily basis, of course, questionnaires where you can self-report your peace of mind. In those questionnaires, we also apply those questionnaires. It's important to keep the anonymous character of the survey, because if you ask people about their peace of mind, if you ask people about their level of happiness, but it's not anonymous, then they will give answers that are socially more desired, and then you don't get the truth. But if it's anonymous, then you get closer to the truth, let's say.
Yeah, beautiful. You brought some graphics. Is it something that you want to show or share with us, or?
Well, I have it's a kind of a summary of my lecture when I give lectures on happiness and on happiness, about happiness at work. I show some pictures about the impact of some elements on happiness at work. Now I have them with me just for my support. If I would forget a number that I can look it up, but so far it's not needed. But an element that is in there and that I find crucial is because we talked about autonomy, relatedness, we talked about competence, we talked about peace of mind. But what we also found is there are two additional factors that are crucial in an organization. And the first one is what I would call the psychosocial safety climate. And basically it means that if you work in an organization and you can share your opinion with anybody in the organization, also with the biggest chief in the organization, and you can share your opinion and you're not blamed for sharing your opinion, that's basically what we call a psychosocial safety climate. You can be yourself. And we have investigated that, and we asked the question, and the question was used already before the epidemic, and we asked the question, do you have the feeling that you have to wear a mask at work? But that was, of course, not literally a mask, but not being able to be yourself. And people who said, yes, I have most of the time or all of the time, I have the feeling that I have to wear a mask at work, 60% of them is not happy at work. Wow. So a large majority of those who cannot be themselves at work is unhappy. So a very simple thing for a manager to do is to tell his people, look, here in our organization, you can be yourself. Yeah. You can be yourself, of course, respectfully to other ones, not telling the boss, oh, what kind of a fool are you? You have to remain polite, of course, but you can respectfully disagree with anybody in the company, also with the CEO. That's very important.
But so how many managers are really are taking the mask off when they are at work? Because I think they have to be the role model for their employees.
Well, there are different types of leadership, of course, and the ideal leader combines those different types of leadership depending on the situation. There are indeed types of leadership where you say, well, I'll show you how to do it. I am the role model, and you try to be like me. But there are others who say, well, I'm more interested in you than in myself, and I want to have your opinion. Then there are others who are more like very direct, and this is what we're going to do, step 1, step 2, step 3. And what we know from studies, it's not my specialty, of course, but I do read those works about leadership, is that those leaders who can find the right type of leadership at the right moment, they are most successful and most respected. So sometimes when there is an urgency, you might need to have a leader who is more direct, because then it's no time to say, let's brainstorm for 1 week to deal with the other.
What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. But in other situations, yes, it's very important to listen to everyone. And in other situations, it's important to show them how you would do it, etc. So that's the ideal leader. But also as a leader, you have to be yourself. You have to show people that you are also just a human being, also with strengths and weaknesses, and etc. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced of that. But there is another element, and we also found that this is crucial. That is to make sure that everybody in the organization has the feeling that his or her job makes a difference, so that your job has a purpose. And again, you need leaders to show people, hey guys, do you know what we are realizing here? We are really making a difference. We are making a change.
Yeah.
And
we're bringing the man to the moon.
Exactly,
right?
exactly, exactly. And emphasizing that the more the better, I think, can also help to make indeed people feel important, making feel people like I have a purpose, and my job is important. And we found that having this again will increase work happiness with at least 1 point in a scale of 0 to 10. So you need all these elements combined. And you made a very important point there when you said, yes, but as a manager, you also have stress. There are many people who are in a sandwich position. So they have some people who work for them in their team, but they have a boss themselves. And that is a very difficult...
They feel the pressure.
Exactly,
yes,
exactly.
And they want to help.
Exactly. But that means that at every level in an organization, and it starts with also with the highest level, you have to respect all these principles, giving autonomy, making sure that there is relatedness, making sure people feel competent, making sure that there is a psychosocial safety climate, that people have a purpose. All of this starts at the highest level in the company. If the highest level is not understanding this, then others can do their best, but it will still not change the climate in the company.
So are you saying that change starts at the highest level?
I think change starts everywhere, but you need the highest level also as buy-in in these concepts. We see organizations where the highest level is not yet buying in, and so many people do their utmost best to change the climate in the organization in a positive way, and it can work, but it will only be completely successful if the highest level is also on the same page, let's say. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's not a top down. It's not like you have to wait. Everybody has to wait until there is a sign from up there. Okay, now we can work on happiness at work. No, you can.
We
work.
can already start doing it,
exactly,
right? And prove that
exactly,
it's working.
Exactly, it can perfectly work bottom up, but sooner or later, and preferably soon, you need the buy-in of that top level in order to really make the big difference in the entire company or organization.
Yeah. You also wrote this book, geluk geluk vinden zonder te zoeken, in Dutch.
Yeah. So far,
are you also going to translate it in English?
Well, the English translation would then be finding happiness without pursuit, a little bit pointing to the American Constitution, where you
pursuing happiness.
You have the right to pursue your happiness. And my point is that to find happiness, you don't have to obsessively pursue it, because those people who are more obsessed about I want to be happy, they make often the wrong choices. They buy things of which they think that they will make them happy. They do things that they think that they will make them happy. But in reality, becoming happy or becoming more happy is kind of an indirect consequence of changing some aspects in your life. So it should not be the direct purpose. It's more the indirect consequence of changing some aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And there is a parallel with what we were saying about happiness at work. What we see that is that people who do efforts to work on good relationships, who are friendly to others, There is even science on that. There is a nice paper published several years ago, and the title was "It's Good to Be Good." So people who are good to others are also on average more happy. Of course, you have to be careful not to exaggerate and how would I say, sacrifice yourself to please others all the time. That's not good either. But being friendly to others, being kind is so important also for yourself. Then, same for autonomy, relatedness, competence. It comes back all the time. Giving people some autonomy. We see that also in relationships. Giving each other the necessary autonomy is increasing again happiness. Finding peace of mind is also increasing your happiness. Doing useful things in your life is also increasing your level of happiness. So you can find happiness by changing some aspects in your life, and automatically, as an indirect consequence, it will increase your level of happiness.
It sounds so easy, and sometimes it's still so hard for people to really to implement those little habits into their daily lives. So people are watching, and I know people are struggling to not only find happiness, but also really make it a part of their daily life. What is your advice or tip to those who wants to, but still didn't start?
Well, I think the key advice is take care of yourself and take care of others at the same time. Some people tell me, but first of all, I have to take care of myself. I want to get stronger myself, and I start caring better for my health and for my own psychological well-being. And once I get better, then I will start caring for others. But that's not good. It's not sequential. It's in parallel. So that's the first advice. You take care of yourself and you take care of others at the same time. So that means taking care of yourself. Indeed, take care of your physical health, of course, but also take care of your psychological health by doing meditation or mindfulness or music or whatever you find that can help you to
conscious music. Did you know that we have a beautiful lady in our team? Her name is Gina, and she is all about conscious music. And she will also be on our event, and she's working on this, this full experience during the event, to not people only come to the event and listen to the beautiful speakers we have, but to create really the whole experience with sound, music, smell, and so on. So this what you're saying. I know, Gina, if you're watching, conscious music, that's one way to increase your happiness levels, especially at work. So she's so on point.
A second element is because indeed that's perfect, but you don't do that on a continuous basis. Of course, you do that now and then, same like meditation. You're not meditating all the time, but what is important also, and that you can do on a daily basis and a lot of the time, that is to make sure that you don't get all the time inputs from everywhere, like breaking news and
notifications
exactly. Recently, I saw a frontal accident in Brussels. Two people with their smartphone, walking against each other
because they were on their phone.
Exactly. They were completely not conscious. They were all the time on their phone, and there are people who are the phone is sticking to their hand. That's not helping you to get to a higher level of happiness. You should at least have, for instance, in my case, I have no Facebook on my phone. I have no LinkedIn on my phone. I have no ping when there is a message coming in. So I decide when I look at my phone to see whether there is something interesting. And that's a very simple.
It's very simple, but this is so important, especially for our youngsters,
Exactly.
Right? So I'm going to tell my son, who is now 20, listen to this conversation, because I tell him all the time, it's not good for your health, But the youngsters are their phone literally is stuck on their. It's so true, and I always say, you're connected with the world, but how about our connection? I don't see you.
No. It's it's a kind of a fake connection, of course. It's kind of a hyper connectivity, and that's not good, because you lose the real connection. And It's very simple. It's just some changes. Some people, if they have difficulties to do that, what is another alternative? There is this technology. It's called stolp. It's like a box, like the cage of Faraday. So you put your phone in that box, and any connection with outside world is broken.
Oh.
So it protects your phone against any messages. And so what some people do now is at least during lunch and breakfast and dinner, to say, guys, we put the phone in the stolp and we can talk.
Yeah.
Or during a meeting at work. So, and it's a very simple tool. You can just put your phone in there, you close it, and no connection. So that's also a good advice, I would say. So what else is then also important is to make sure that what you do in your life indeed has a purpose. And we were talking about purpose in the job, but you can also have purpose in other activities that you do in your life. So people who do some volunteer work, caring for others, etc. Also that can make you more happy. So, or doing some creative activities. We found that in our study that people who are doing creative activities, like that can be painting, making music, other creative activities, they are on average also more happy because you're creating something. You are also some people call it self-actualization. So you're
And
improving
you can
yourself.
express yourself.
Exactly.
So purpose, I always find it an interesting theme, but because I know people know that having a purpose or having like meaning in life increases your happiness levels. But there are also so many people who say, what is my purpose? Like, what is purpose? I don't have a purpose. How can I find my purpose? What would you say to those people?
Well,
or is it another webinar?
No. I find it's a little bit like those negative thoughts that I have no purpose. Everybody can have a purpose. Everybody can have a purpose, and it's about. It makes me think about a book by Annie McKee, a psychologist from Harvard, who said, "Well, when I was studying, I took care of an elderly couple. They were not strong enough to take care of themselves, so I care for them a couple of hours per day or per week." You could consider it as like, okay, I have to do this to earn some money, or you can say, well, thanks to me, those two people, it's only two people, but thanks to me, those two people have a better life.
Yeah.
That's already an example of a purpose. You can have purpose on small scale, on big scale, it doesn't matter. As soon as you know I do something which makes a difference for others, then you're doing something good.
Yeah, and the brain starts to work, and right?
And it's a positive spiral that you are generating then. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that brings me to the idea of like how one of the things that organizations can do is simply say, let's sparkle more kindness, for example, like a random act of kindness. Do it in your organization, and you will spark the positive spiral, and people will find it good to give something, good to receive something. Like there are really simple things that you can do.
Yes, but it's an end situation. What you give as an example is very good, but if at the same time there is no people have no meaningful job, or they don't perceive their job as meaningful, or if at the same time there is no vision in the company about where are we going to get next year, then this spark of kindness is not enough.
Yes.
So you need kindness, you need friendships at work, but you also need purpose, and you also need a positive vision about the future. Yeah. So you need a combination of all these things, of course.
I totally agree, because some people think, okay, let's do something about happiness at work, and let's buy ice creams.
Yeah.
Or let's have a ping pong table or something like this. Like the sparkles on the ice cream, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think vision is very important, that the leaders and the people in the organization have a vision that they want to feel happy also at work.
Yeah.
And strategy.
Yeah.
We need a strategy to go and to have a goal. Budget.
Yeah. Exactly.
what is the budget?
Exactly.
And I also think that the budget is important, but also the people who really prioritize it.
Yeah.
So not only as a one-day event, or let's do a workshop for a one day, or maybe a project for 1 month. How can we really embody it?
I remember a company where we were observing, and in one department things were really not going well, and it had to do with the manager of that department, who was not really a kind person, to say the least. And so the solution of the HR department was, we'll give all these people in that department a course in resilience, so we make them more resilient, so they can deal better with
they can cope with
with that nasty person. Yeah, that's not the right solution. Ice creams, ping pong tables, etc. Nice, but the core is in the improving the climate in the company. Like I said, the psychosocial safety climate is very important. Give people the feeling like, in this company you can be yourself. And then second, what is also very important is to give people autonomy, to make people feel competent, and to improve friendship among colleagues. And you need all of them. It's not if you just pull one of these ropes, then then it will work. No, you need the combination of all these elements to increase happiness at work. And of course, you need a management that is convinced that this is indeed crucial for the organization. So we often get that question, of course. Yes, but am I responsible for the happiness of my co-workers? Happiness, that's something for in the weekend, but in the week they have to work. And that's, of course, a very wrong attitude, because we know, and there are more and more data, that those organizations where people are more happy, that these people are much more engaged, they're much more productive, and that's better for everybody, for themselves, for their own family, for the company, for everyone.
You take it with you wherever you go, right?
Exactly.
If you're home, if you're at work, on vacation, everywhere.
We found a very strong correlation between happiness at work and happiness in life overall. It's a very strong linear correlation. So the more you're happy at work, also the more you're happy at life. And it works in the causality works in the two directions. So somebody is more happy at work will then also be more nicer to his or her partner and children, and that will then improve happiness in the private life. And somebody who's more happy in private life will also be more happy in the job, of course. So there is a very strong correlation, and again, that creates opportunities to improve happiness levels overall.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think that, thank you, Jim, that's a sign. 2 minutes.
Okay. I thought it was peace.
Peace, yes, also peace. Interesting. I really love the fact that you're also really promoting happiness from inside.
Because there is so much going on. If you let yourself also be influenced by all the inputs that on a daily basis, when you look at the news, or you listen, or you look at what the media are writing and telling every day, many people say, it makes me so unhappy. Yes, but your happiness starts with how you deal with that, those external influences, and it's coming from inside. It's finding indeed that strength inside with the prefrontal cortex, with the peace of mind. That's so important.
Let it work. Let it work.
Exactly, right? Exactly. I recommend everybody. Most people, they know, to get my body a little bit in shape, I have to do something. Even it's only walking, I have to do something for my body. Well, you have to think exactly the same for your brain. You have to do something for training your brain. That's the crucial message, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think that if you want to increase happiness at work, like being happy inside is how you can contribute to this, right? So
exactly.
If you work on your own happiness, that's your contribution to more happiness at work. And so we don't have to wait for anyone.
No.
We just have to work for it and allow ourselves also to be happy.
Exactly. Training your brain is not only good for yourself, but automatically you are also kind of a light almost for others, because others will see that you have changed, that you are
You start to beam, right?
exactly.
Why are you beaming so much?
And even if you do not physically see that, but the empathy that you develop to others, etc., others will start feeling that, and that can then have also a snowball effect to others.
Yeah, beautiful. That's what we want. That's what we want, right? I see Jim is waving. We're waving back. Well, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. We are going to talk for hours, but let's go to our audience and see if there are any questions.
Yeah.
This is the time to
put on our
Yeah. The first question is, what do you think about the actual approach of the mental well-being issues of our youth?
Whoa. Is that a question for Asha or?
Can you hear the? Okay, let's see. Do you see? Stan is asking this question. Hey, Stan.
Yeah. Well, what is the actual approach? I have the impression that the actual approach is totally not proactive. So that means we let our youth, their mental health to become worse, and then only then we try to find solutions with psychologists, etc. So the right approach is like, again, I make the parallel with the physical health. Physical health, everybody talks about health promotion. Health promotion, we invest in programs on healthy food, programs about physical exercise, etc. And many governments in Europe do invest in that kind of programs. Well, we have to make sure that we do the same. Health promotion means you keep people healthy and avoid that they become sick. And we have to do the same with mental health. So we call it then mental health promotion. That means that already in schools, we have to bring in programs like meditation. We have to, in schools, we have to work on the psychological needs like autonomy, relatedness, competence, etc. And that should be the right approach. Yeah. And helping the youth to find that peace of mind. And then we will avoid a lot of mental health problems. Whereas now we are waiting until they arrive, and then we try to do something about it, and then we see that we don't have to have the capacity to do something about it, etc. I hope it's an answer to your question, Stan.
Stan, yes. Perfect. Thank you.
Next question is, what can I, as a university teacher, do to help students and create more happiness at school?
And future workplaces for our students. Great question, Merel. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm also a university teacher, so I try also in my classes to talk about this. But still today, I teach health economics. I still not teach well-being. I do research on well-being, and so my dream is to get in every university in our country, and in fact in many countries, a course on the signs of happiness. So what do we know about happiness, and what can we learn from that? Because it has been shown that already following such a course on happiness can help people already to make them more happy. So I think any university student should be allowed also to follow courses on happiness, and I'll try to convince our universities, at least in our countries, to start with that kind of course.
Yes, and we have that course, so
exactly.
Yeah,
so,
we have it. So let's start doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have another one. Are enough investments being made for well-being?
Hey, Gina. That's Gina. And she's the lady of the conscious music.
Yes,
hey,
right.
Gina, great that you're on.
Yeah. Well, very good question, because you could say, well, do we need investments to improve well-being? Because you can start with yourself, and it doesn't cost nothing to start meditation. But what we see is that indeed, if you want to help organizations, if you want to help municipalities, because we did not yet talk about that, but there is a large political responsibility, especially also at the local level, to start creating better neighborhoods, to start creating or stimulating the participative life, so that people join a society in which they find some activities, etc.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of local responsibility to do that, but that costs indeed money, and that's money that will definitely also lead to a return. So I'll try to avoid a long answer, Gina. The answer is we need to invest more in stimulating well-being, because in order to stimulate it, you need to work with people who are skilled about how can we stimulate well-being. What can we do in an organization, in a community to improve well-being? You need to involve experts in that field to take the right measures and make the right proposals. And you have to pay for them, of course, and you have to pay for those programs that you then organize, either in an organization or in a community, and that costs money. But the return of that money is, of course, much bigger than the cost. Yeah.
We all know the benefits. Like the benefits are so clear.
Yeah.
So that business case is clear, right? Very
clear. And it becomes more and more clear. If you would ask me the same question 10 years ago, I would say, there are indeed some studies, but not many who suggest that investing in well-being is a good thing. But now there is,
absolutely,
much more. Yeah.
Thank you, Gina, for your question.
Yeah, next one. Have you ever looked at the impact of changes in tools on the peace of mind?
Sarah. Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
Look, Sarah Bormans is also one of the pioneers, right, Jim? Or yes, one of the pioneers of happiness at work. So
Okay.
Now the question is gone.
Yeah, but I still know the question. Okay. But I think she knows the answer better than myself, because I cannot. There are some studies, of course, about mindfulness, or comparing mindfulness with yoga, or comparing mindfulness with meditation. But there is still a lot of science ongoing there, in the sense that the first studies, for instance, on mindfulness, were among people who had already mental issues or physical issues. So trying to restore a given situation, whereas what we want to do is to use it more as a kind of a mental health promotion. And in that sense, there is less research. So to which extent is mindfulness better than meditation, and yoga better than... And moreover, what I think personally is that we have to be careful with what we call the illusion of the average. If you find that you do a study and you find that one method to improve peace of mind is better than the other one, on average, it can still be that there is still a large proportion of people that still are better off with that second method that on average was less good, but for some people will be better. So the point I want to make is, be careful with averages, be careful with general statements like this technique is better than that technique. No, what I think it's very personal. You have to find what fits yourself best. Yeah.
Yes. And then when you find your mantra, don't share it. Right? Let's see if there's another question.
Yeah. Then we have a question. How can you demonstrate or prove the value of happiness at work so that the top management buys in?
Yeah, good question for Merel. Merel, I can send you some slides which are so compelling that any top management will say, "Oh, I didn't know that." Maybe just give two examples. There was a study, I forgot the name of the first author, where they compared the 20% happiest people with the 20% least happy people at work, and the happiest ones were 10 times less absent from work, and on the job were also two times more productive. So that's just one study. Another one compared even companies where the level of engagement was higher because people were also more happy at work, and they compared them with companies where the level of engagement was lower, and the companies in that highest level of engagement were all profitable, and the one in the lowest category with less engagement, there were a lot of companies there who made losses. So again, and that's hard bottom line, of course. That's profit and loss. But these are still what we call cross-sectional studies. So comparing at the given moment happy people with non-happy people, happy companies with not happy companies. But now there are more and more also interventional studies. That means studies that start in given companies with intervening in order to improve the happiness in those companies over time. And then we see again that productivity also increases over time. So, like I said, there is more and more evidence that goes into that direction, and there are already even what we then call systematic reviews that are bringing all that evidence together in one overview, etc. So, happy to share some of that with you.
Yeah, great. And what's maybe also interesting for you, Merel, is to go to the PDF Happiness at Work created, because we collected so much data from different research papers, and it's all there. So the business case is very clear, the benefits are very clear. We know what Happiness at Work is doing with like productivity, creativity, engagement, and like there are so many benefits. But I think most CEOs, they know the benefits, they know it, and they are searching for how to do it.
Yeah.
And well, how to do it?
Yeah.
I think Lieven just shared so many.
There you have to check all the boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think they know the benefits. It's good to have that clear, but the how is what most people are searching for.
Yeah.
But thank you for the question.
Yeah. Next one. How can you encourage employees to take responsibility for their peace of mind and take action on that?
Maria.
Yeah, very good point. I think it's important that the HR department or the top management takes this seriously and is convinced that you can work on your prefrontal cortex and organizes meditation classes, for instance, or mindfulness. At another university in our country, in Leuven, there is the Leuven Mindfulness Center. So they organize mindfulness classes. Why not trying that? And also try to have a policy regarding how to deal with digital in our company.
Oh,
so how to avoid that we all are all the time connected. These are all possibilities that the top management of HR can indeed install in the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe to sometimes people don't want to take responsibility, right? There are people say, well, happy to see that it's good for you, but I am not going to do a meditation or mindfulness or walk like conscious walks or whatever. So sometimes you cannot take over the responsibility of the people, right? You can offer and
you cannot force them, of course.
You cannot force. You have to do with this.
It's about like in many aspects in life, or many changes in life, or innovations or innovative thoughts, there are always the early adopters, and when these early adopters show that, wow, it works, then there is a second group that say, oh yeah, why not? But at the end of the distribution, there is this group who are very conservative and do not want any change. So I'm afraid also chronologically they will only follow later on. But if they see that this is indeed changing, and is also that's why I said it's so important not to say, and as from now we are all going to do meditation. No. Let's look at the list of things that you can do, and let's find something that you think, oh, maybe that's something for me, and then you will see, oh yeah, it does make a difference.
I think that's good.
Go slow.
Let people walk, like try it on their own pace, don't force it.
Exactly.
Show them that it's working. by doing it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Are there
and
any
maybe
questions?
last question. When employers hear about happiness at work, the question.
Karina. Hey, Karina. Let's see. When employees hear about happiness.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, first of all, they should read my book because I explain there what is the difference between happiness in the sense that many people think. If you ask some people what makes you happy, then they say, a piece of chocolate or a fresh pint on a sunny terrace. But that's more pleasure. That's more happy feelings, of course.
Yes.
But real happiness is, how good is your life? And real happiness at work is how good is your life at work? And that's also the way that we question that. So it's also a question about explaining those managers that when we talk about happiness, it's really about feeling good in your environment where you are active. So that is very important to explain that to them, that the difference between the different interpretations of happiness. I prefer to, and I know where your question is coming from. There are, for instance, in some companies, chief happiness officers, and then what these are doing in some companies is indeed organizing events and organizing happy moments, etc. Whereas, in essence, what these should be doing is to ask questions about how can we change the psychosocial safety climate in our country? How can we increase autonomy of the workers? That's what a chief happiness officer really should be doing, and that should be expected also from them. But that means that the jargon and the concepts should be understood by the top managers, of course. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was the last question.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, if you have questions, and please write it in the comments. Lieven will answer them all.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll share my slides with Asha and Jim, and then you can also share them with others.
Share it. So thank you all for watching and joining this conversation. And even if you're watching the recordings, thank you for watching. And we hope to see you during our next webinar. Follow Lieven Annemans. You are on LinkedIn, I know it. So just follow his work, and you will be up to date with all the research and all the beautiful activities that he is doing. Lieven, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to continue it offline. Have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Are you happy at work? Happy employees are more productive. This means happy employees bring more profit. Learn how to build a happy company at the Happiness at Work conference, the world's #1 conference on corporate well-being. Meet the world's leading experts on the subject. Join us at the Happiness at Work conference in Antwerp on 28th June through our worldwide streaming. Go to www.happiness-conference.world.